My name is Sean Thomas, and I'm the author of Be More Today, a 40-day guide to a better version of you. As doctor of physical therapy, I've seen thousands of people do great things. They came to me with ailments, physical ailments, pain, issues, and they got through them, all because they decided in their mind they were going to do it. And I guarantee you, if you just trust the process and be persistent, you too can be the best version of you.
Welcome to the Be More Today show. Don't forget to like and subscribe to our show today. Now, let's hear it from our host, Dr. Sean Thomas.
What's going on, folks? What's going on? It's your boy again, Dr. Sean Thomas, back in the Be More Today show. We are back in the building. And folks, we are here at the end of summer, but we're still nixing and fixing in 2026. It's been a pleasure rocking out with you now here in season 7 of the Be More Today show. And it's been a vibe. It's been a movement. It's been all those things. Be More Today. As you already know, my More merch store has been out there with Be More Today gear. My 2 books, Be More Today and Project More, have been out there for the last 2 years now, inspiring great people to do great things in health and fitness and wellness. And I want to appreciate all those who are part of the Summer Steps to Greatness Challenge that just ended. We're tabulating the steps now for the people we had on there. About 50 people were out there trying to get 10,000 steps in 40 days, and it was wild. We had teens, we had young people. It was great. So for all those who are part of the Step Challenge, I salute you. I appreciate you. You did a great job. And for all things Be More Today related, BeMoreToday.show, BeMoreToday.pt, your boy here, Dr. Sean Thomas. The show has grown and continues to grow, now heard in over 139 countries, over 82,000 downloads. Again, thanks for love and support. The show continues to inspire others to be more today. Now heard again on Spotify and Apple Podcasts, of course, on YouTube as well. Big up to our sponsors, Spy Belt, the best running belt in the business. Kim and her team does a great job in Texas for making a great brand of running belts and small item belts for you just to use. So if you are a Spy Belt user or want to get to the Spy Belt team like me, visit spybelt.com and check out all their amazing merchandise. You will not be disappointed. And big ups to my company, Jack Physical Therapy, also for sponsoring the show as always. We have now 175 locations in the tri-state area. We continue to be one of the best providers of health and wellness and fitness in PT, OT, athletic training, all those things in the tri-state area. So if you're looking for a way to get back to life that you love, check us out at jagpt.com and be a part of the Jag family. We appreciate you in advance. To our monthly patrons, I salute you always. Lunice and Juanita, thank you so much for always supporting the show. It never goes unnoticed. My quote for today is simple as always. You don't find a great physique. You forge it in the gym every day. Folks, this has been a time for me this summer. As you see, we're in our new space, we're in our new house. For those of you who are like, yo, where's Sean been? What's going on? I moved. I moved out of Brooklyn. I said I was going to do it, and it finally happened. And we moved outside of the city. We're still transitioning from Brooklyn to the upstate area. There are things everywhere, clearly, but we're making this work, and we're seeing that you have to be intentional about trying to be where you want to be, and it takes effort, right? It takes every day putting into scheduling and changing things up and modifying things and pivoting and shifting. And even when all things are set up and scheduled right, things are going to go wrong. But having a plan in place is always good to make sure you're going in the right direction. And I thought about this quote today because I'm not in my right schedule right now. I haven't been working out like I wanted to. I haven't been running as much as I wanted to. We had a step challenge recently. I didn't get the steps that I wanted to get in because I've just been doing all kinds of random stuff. Sidebar, my car caught on fire, refrigerator broke down. A lot of things have been going on, folks. I'll talk more about those things later. But I want to just talk about the word forge, because to me, definition is very poignant, right? Forge is as a noun, a special fireplace, furnace, workshop, right? But as a verb, it's to make or build something strong through hard work, like a strong friendship or a new business partnership, right? The term forge forward is something that people always talk about, moving forward steadily, slowly, or with a sudden burst of speed despite challenges. And I just wanted to inspire you guys this week to forge forward in what you're trying to do. You're going to hit challenges like I experienced, especially when you're doing new things. You're gonna hit roadblocks that discourage you a little bit, especially when you do new things. But having a plan in place to make sure you're forging forward, that you're moving forward despite the challenges, despite what's going on around you. That's what we're trying to do this year as Be More Today family, as we next in 2026. And my guest on the show today, I have two guests on the show. I love bringing on PTs like me because we're like-minded people. We vibe. I don't have to know people, but we connect in various ways. And I have two amazing PTs on the show today to talk about an app that they created called Forge. It's an AI movement coach that adapts with you actually in real time. And I have on this today my two good friends. I have Dr. Joe and Dr. John, and they're both DPTs like me. They're amazing physical therapists, and I want to bring them on the show today to have them talk about their show, their app, their movements, and all that they're doing. So, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, please welcome to the stage my two good friends and two DPTs also rocking out like me every single day, Dr. Joe and Dr. John. Gentlemen, what is going on?
What's up, Sean? I feel like my career comes back to you over and over again. I feel like you were one of my good friends at Jag One, and then getting to be on the podcast early when it was in its infancy, and now getting to come back on here to talk about Forge. Very grateful to be on here. Very grateful to be talking to you again.
Listen, Joe, I appreciate you. I've always been a fan of you ever since we worked together at the old one-on-one days. At the Georgetown office, when you came in, you were a rock star, and I was like, he's not going to stay long. He's going to go on and do great things on his own. And you've done that. We had you on the first episode of the first season of the show, and you were doing great things then, and you're doing even better things now. So I salute you, and yeah, welcome back on the show. I really appreciate it. And John, nice to meet you, sir. What's going on?
What's happening, man? Look at you tying in everything with forging forward and with the app. You're a wordsmith.
Come on now. I don't play around. So listen, gentlemen, just tell the listeners a little bit about who you guys are as professionals first, and then we'll get into the talk about your amazing new app.
Yeah, so I'm Dr. Joe, like Sean said. I spent the first portion of my career working at One-on-One, which is now the company Sean works at, Jag One. Bounced around a little bit after that, and during COVID, ended up meeting my wife and moving to Connecticut. I started my own sort of concierge, out-of-network PT and training company called Apex Performance and Physical Therapy about 3 years ago. And that's kind of where I'm at right now. We are located in Westport, Connecticut, and we have a satellite office in Ridgefield, which is what John is heading up right now for the company. And me and John kind of, I would say, almost walked into this app by accident, sort of.
Yeah,
sometime early in the year.
It was an interesting process. Even when I first met Joe, basically a story that everyone can relate to. I basically just slid into his DMs, and it was like, wow, I see this guy doing a lot of great stuff on Instagram, and I was kind of looking for a similar fit, kind of going for more of that traditional insurance model in terms of PT, and then switching and slowly moving my way towards concierge. And we just kind of hit it off right away, and we're like, wow, like similar vibes, similar mindset. Really just kind of like doing this for the love of the game, as weird as that sounds. We enjoy treating, we enjoy helping people. And it was kind of a home run right off the bat. I started working with Joe probably about a little less than a year ago. And it's been great so far. And then we were talking about some side projects that we were both working on independently. Joe had this idea, for an app a long time ago, and so had I. So we were basically both independently working on our own version of what Forge became. And then he started talking to me about, his vision for it. And then I was like, wait a minute, like, are we the same person? I also have an app that I've been working on. And, we were both talking about the naming, and even the name was similar. Like, even the name Forge, Joe had that in the name, and so had I. So it was kind of just like this whole kind of like universe aligning, and then us sort of meeting right in the middle, being like, holy crap, we're basically doing the exact same thing. Let's just kind of like start putting a little bit more mental effort into this and really turn this from kind of just like a passion project, which it still of course is, into something a little bit more tangible. And now we're here, and now the app actually works. And it's kind of crazy to see it all come to fruition like that. But I think it's a story that anyone can really relate to. Things just kind of like, they just sort of happen. Like, yes, you obviously devote the time, the mental energy towards it, but sometimes like the best stuff just sort of falls into your lap. And all you have to do is just keep stacking the deck in your favor and good things will happen. So it's never like you do these steps and then it sort of just naturally materializes. It's more of just like, you just keep doing these steps. And sometimes it does, sometimes it doesn't. But if you stick with it long enough and you stay consistent with the right level of effort, just like any sort of thing in training, good things are going to happen. And now we're here.
Yeah, no, I vibe with that in all sincerity and all totality. I completely agree with that. And I'm curious, you guys, you both said you had the word forge in your templates when you were trying to make this thing. What about the word forge made you both gravitate towards it in developing this app?
Yeah, I mean, for me, it's forge just implies like you're working hard, but you're building something, right? You're building something for yourself. And like you kind of mentioned early on, like, forge forward, right? You're trying to move yourself forward. And, those things just resonated with me. For me, I think from a training perspective, the one thing we always tell people is like consistency, right? Consistency in training is really what gets you those results, right? The person that trains super hard at 1,000%, and then burns out after 3 weeks, they're not the person that forges themselves forward and forges what they want out of their life. It's that person that can kind of show up every day and sort of give it what they have on that day, right? 100% for that day, but, show up consistently over weeks and weeks and months. And that's really how you forge, yourself in health, yourself in life. And I think that's what kind of resonated for me with the word.
Yeah, kind of piggybacking off of what Joe said too. It's like, if we're thinking about even what the word means, if someone who's using a forge, usually a blacksmith or someone who's basically mining raw material, you're taking something that's basically unfinished, still useful, but it takes a process in order to make and mold that into something that basically is usable, that works, and it lasts a long time. Even from the first process, like even the process of getting the ore to forge something, it's not the first hit with the pickaxe that does it. It's basically the 100th hit, but that doesn't mean that those 99 prior to that last hit did nothing. It's about just staying consistent, basically hitting the same spot, continually applying effort, consistency, and then over time you get that result and then make it into something that's useful and personal to you that really resonates with you.
Yeah, I completely agree with that. I as Joe knows, I say I was a runner because I'm kind of done with marathon running now for a little bit. Just my knees need to relax a little bit. But it's the same concept with running. Putting a little bit of effort into these small runs over time, building on that foundation, getting ready for your 5K, 10K, half marathon. And like we do as PTs, the same concept. So I love that. I've had a chance to go into the app, and again, I thank you for giving me a sneak peek into that early on. I had a chance to really go through and put some things in there for myself, and I love it. I love how easy it is to use. I love how quick the responses are when you put in certain questions, certain data. On your site, you guys talk about you made this built around outcomes, not someone's template. And I know as PT, sometimes we get very, very, we get easily trapped into following templates, right? Knee replacement, you follow this. Rotator cuff, you do this. We have protocols, right? Those are all templates in their own regard. So we get very, very caught in those things. And as you guys already know, because you've been PTs for a while like me, you kind of fall into these traps of doing the same thing with the same diagnoses, no matter what, not really making it tailor-made towards someone individually, more towards the diagnosis. But your app, so it seems, talks about going beyond that template. And I want to know why that's so important to you guys when it comes to fitness. Why was that such a staple for you to add to this app, The Forge?
I think the biggest thing is we need to make sure that we're applying these fundamental principles to each unique case. And like you were saying too, the templates can work. And it doesn't mean that, for someone looking up a general protocol, they're going to get, terrible answers. In general, it usually will give them something, but it's not unique to them. And that's the hardest thing, especially when we're talking about programming an app to do this. We decided to go the direction of we need to basically program in principles and frameworks and almost use the advancement in technology so this app will reason just like a normal coach would. Because if we end up basically giving it templates, for some people it might be correct, but it very quickly drifts into no matter what, everyone gets a back squat. When it's like, well, for some people, if that's their goal, perfect. And if it's a good supplement to achieve those goals, that's great. There's nothing wrong with it. But oftentimes you're going to get that drift. So then the training becomes less and less specific to the individual. So the big goal here was we basically kind of work backwards and we think, what are the first principles and fundamentals that we apply normally in the clinic, on the field, in the gym? And then how do we create that framework to then have the coach actively basically take a robust intake and understand the unique characteristics of each person, so then we can apply those principles creatively to their unique situation, as opposed to having a template where it's like kind of shoving square peg in a round hole. Like sometimes it's there, but sometimes it's not. So the biggest goal there was really making sure that we have those actual frameworks that basically apply to anything, and then being able to then translate that directly to the person. So we don't basically, pigeonhole ourselves into an incorrect prescription with each person.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
I think like you were saying, Sean, like, each person, there's people that are going to come in that just want general health and fitness, but there are going to be people that they want to do a high rocks now. They want to run a marathon, and each of those goals, there is some general training that across the board will apply to all of those things. And with Forge, you may start that way, right? Like if your event is 3 to 5 months out, you may start with some more general strength, right? But if at the end you are training for high rocks or you are training for a marathon, how that looks as it evolves should change, right? Like high rocks has specific events. Running is a specific type of sport, right? Which requires specific demands. So as you get closer to those events, Forge should help to adapt your training so it actually is gearing you towards the things you want to train for. So it like you said, it should be evolving with you as you go, as opposed to a template, which is kind of going to stick and be the same as you go. It's not going to change, right? And if you have a bad week, it's not going to adapt to you. If you have a good week, it's not going to encourage you to push forward. It's just going to be static and always there.
Yeah, I love that, because I know even talking to certain therapists, as therapists, we don't always do that, right? We don't always adapt in real time. We don't always adjust. We kind of get caught in just doing the same kind of thing. Even when people talk to us about what their goals are, how they're feeling on certain things, we kind of, based on other things that are happening in our own lives, personal things, work-wise, whatever, we fall into these same kind of, maybe we'll do something next week. Well, we'll try something new next time. And then we forget about that thing, right? But with this app, and again, I've gone on and I had a chance to input some of my own data in there. The real-time responses are spot on. It's almost like, I'm actually talking to someone in real time. That's how it felt for me when I was going on the app. And my question now in my DPT had, just like you guys, we talk about outcomes, right? And you can measure certain outcomes when you come to talk about patients, and that's great. But now we talk about patient history. We talk about the nuances that come with someone who may be a high-level athlete versus, someone who is a weekend warrior is trying to get into this thing, or someone who, like you said, Joe, is, not very active, but wants to get into a more active routine, but maybe they have a history of arthritis or whatever else. How does Forge account for all of those details when it comes to patient history, injuries, medical history that might complicate what they can and cannot do, or even issues where, they may want to do certain things, but medically they're not really ready to do those things yet? How does Forge really account for all those different factors?
Yeah. So I think, first and foremost, Forge is, we always want to be clear, Forge is primarily strictly for training, right? So, if there's a serious medical problem going on, and you input that in there, Forge will prompt you to make sure that you see a professional, right? This is not meant to replace in-person care, and we definitely want to have eyes on. That being said, if you are working with a PT or you've been cleared, and you tell Forge that, it will then work with you to come up with a program, around that injury or that ailment or whatever's been going on, as long as it knows you have the clearance, right? So it's on you, obviously, to be responsible and make sure that, this is not a diagnostic app. This is a training app. So to get the help you need, if you feel like you need that help. But then I think, like you said, it's basically a detective, right? The way that we built it is meant to be a detective, right? Just like a clinician would be, just like a coach should be, right? So if you are very vague, it understands that it needs to learn more about what's going on. in order to program something that's effective for you, right? So if you just go in there and say, hey, I want to train 2 days a week, and that's all you give it, it's going to ask you more questions like any coach or clinician would to determine, like, do you have an injury history? What is your training history like, right? Are we someone who's starting with, 5 days of training, super experienced, or someone that has no training at all, right? And, it's meant to take all this information and basically build a profile about you, right? And that profile evolves as you go. So the more information you feed it, actually, the better it gets, right? So as you're training, if things are coming up, if your schedule changes, if you do have like a little tweak as you go, it will keep this in mind, and it will help you figure out how is the best way to build in. So like you said, for example, someone who has arthritis, right? Exercise is great for them, right? They've probably seen a PT. I'm sure they're clear for exercise, right? It may ask them, like, when does the knee bother them? Is it during squats? Is it during step ups? And not to say we have to avoid those things, but it might tell them that, hey, we're going to start with some body weight squats first, and if you check in and tell us that's clear, we may start to add some load, or we may do it to a box, right, to avoid the bottom of the range of motion if that's uncomfortable for them, right? All the things that we would do in person, it's going to kind of walk you through those steps. That way, it is taking that into account, and it's training you in a safe way.
Yeah, and to kind of piggyback off what Joe's saying too, it's really the application of a framework, but applying that framework correctly and creatively. So we have our strength and conditioning principles that, let's say, they don't change. But the real nuance is understanding how to apply that to the unique goals of the person, their characteristics, and with their training history. So what Forge is programmed to do is exactly like Joe was saying, is to ask the questions that you didn't even know were something that you needed to kind of like provide. Because, people can still Google things, they can use ChatGPT, and it's really, the information is out there. Pretty much nowadays, you can literally find all of the knowledge that any human has ever discovered on the internet for free. So it's not an information problem. What it really is how do I sift through all of this noise and understand how to creatively and correctly apply our fundamental strength and conditioning principles to this unique person that are also corresponding to their goals. So like Joe was saying, even, in the knee case, if you just go into Google or ChatGPT and say, my knee hurts, and it's a very, very general sort of query, you're going to get a general answer. What Forge is going to do is take that robust intake and understand, well, they were saying that their knee's hurting. However, they also were saying, they wanted to sit in a deep squat so they could play with their child. It's going to take both of those things and factor it in and understand, well, their knee's hurting now, but that end goal is going to be that full depth squat. So how do we now apply tendon loading principles, making sure that we're doing things based on their current level of irritability? So is it super irritable? Are we going to do more of an isometric and kind of just get some of that irritation down? Are they ready for more intense loading? How do we apply those principles to that unique case to get them to that end goal? And understanding the nuance of what's important to the client is basically what makes a great coach truly great. It's not just saying, everyone gets squats. Well, it's like, some people for sure, but if other people it's not corresponding to their goal, we don't really need to worry about it as much. So that's kind of the biggest thing is Forge is going to prompt you because it understands what makes a good program. It's not just some generic program. For some people, there's nothing wrong with it. It could work, but we want to go above and beyond and make it so this program is a one of one. Like this is unique to you based on your intake, and it's going to continually prompt the user to understand, hey, this is the extra information I need. Oh, I noticed the coach asked the client a certain question and they may have, gone on a tangent and answered something else. That's great. But then the coach will still circle back to be like, I would need a little bit more information on this, or what was your baseline? So then it can correctly apply those principles to the client to then get the absolute best result possible.
Yeah. Again, it sounds amazing. And I'm curious just for listeners to know, this sounds very expensive. It sounds like a lot of work is being put into this. What is the cost for those who do sign up for Forge?
Yeah, so it's honestly, our goal is to keep it cheap. Truthfully, it's literally just about $1 a day. So it's $29.99 per month. Our goal of this whole app was to give people access to the highest quality coaching possible for a fraction of the cost. It's never going to replace in-person coaching. It's never going to replace, going to see a clinician for serious medical problems. Because once again, it's for training. It's not going to be a medical app. with that being said, we think that so many problems in this country, especially with healthcare, could be handled if people were just a little more active. We spend billions, tens of billions of dollars in the healthcare system. Not that it's necessarily a waste per se, but tens of billions could be saved if people just had a little bit more guidance on just being slightly more physically active. How many, in terms of the burden of the healthcare system, how much does just simple metabolic disorders cost the healthcare system and cost people their lives? Like how much of a negative effect do some of these things that are entirely preventable have on people's lives? So with basically a fraction of the cost, we can give them training that is specific to them, that's high quality, and it cuts the learning curve so they don't have to sift through thousands of PubMed articles or read research papers, or simply just going on to ChatGPT and not really knowing what questions to ask or how to dig deeper into certain issues. That's the goal. So a little bit for $29.99. I know it's crazy, with the technology that we can offer something like this now that's so much more affordable than it ever used to be. And it should be something that everyone can access. And that was the biggest goal here.
Yeah. That's
Sorry,
Joe.
Sean. I think for me, obviously, I worked in Jag One. I started this company, for concierge PT on my own. And, probably last year is when I started to realize hey, I love what I'm doing in this environment. The quality of what I can do is so high. I was also but the cost is high, right? There's no way around that, no matter how I try to help people finance it, right? And this is it's not accessible for everyone, and my goal was never only to treat a class of people that can only afford X level of care. But the goal was always figure out how can we bring as much quality to as many people as possible, right? Mm-hmm. So, I love what I do, but it's not accessible to a lot, right? And thankfully with the advent of all this technology, we were able to figure out a way to almost take our brains, take our frameworks, take all the research and put it into something that should hopefully be a lot more accessible to a lot more people. And that was kind of the goal, right? It was, how do we bring this quality to as many people as possible?
Yeah. Joe and I always joke about it. We would treat everyone for free if we could. It's truthfully there's no separation of work and play. There's no such work-life balance. We just both did something that's a massive part of our lives, and then that's it. There's no differentiation between us going to work and us going home. Our brain is always running and just kind of turning over these problems and issues that you face just because it's a huge part of our life. So this is almost the end stage of getting us as close to possible. It's we just want to treat people. We just want to solve problems and make it affordable for everyone. And if we can, this is sort of that dream becoming a reality.
Yeah. Well, like I said earlier, I think PTs in general have the same kind of mindset, no matter where they are, especially PTs who are in the ortho realm, and want to just give back to people and help people. I'm kind of the same way in terms of just wanting to help everybody do anything. And yeah, like you said, it's not really work. It's work, but it's not really work. And it's a continual platform of let me help people in various ways. So I love that you made it affordable. I love that people can use it in various ways, especially with healthcare being so crazy nowadays and insurance rates and reimbursements. You guys already know it's challenging, whether you're doing home care or not, right? Whether you have someone coming to your house or you're actually going to an actual facility, even with co-insurances, right, and co-pays. PT or just finding someone to help you, even with fitness, right? Personal training, all different things. It's expensive. And the fact that you guys make a platform that everyone can access is great. I'm curious now though, for those who are I want to have somebody in my face. I want to be able to touch someone. I want to be able to see them face to face. I don't trust the AI that could be sharing information with me. Those who may be skeptical of what the app may share with them, or skeptical on the safety or the efficacy of what they're going to be sharing with them. What do you say to those users who say, you know what, I really prefer to see someone face to face. I'll spend the extra money to go to see someone face to face for these things. I don't trust the electronic, the AI stuff. What are your thoughts, and how do you share information with someone who is on the fence about trusting the Forge?
I think for me, it's a two-part answer, really, right? Like John said, this is not meant to totally replace an in-person trainer and in-person care, right? If that's something you're totally adamant about, I mean, that's going to be a great experience for you, right? Like if you really want that, then go do that. But like you said, at the end of the day, that's quite expensive, right? Like a trainer is quite expensive. Out of pocket PT, even deductibles and co-insurances 2 to 3 times a week, it starts to add up pretty quickly. So this could be something for those people that you use as an adjunct, right? You may see your trainer once a week, and that might be much more affordable for you to see them once a week, and then have them help you work with Forge to get 2 or 3 other sessions in throughout the week, right? Because your trainer can kind of upload what you guys have been doing, and in combination with that and your goals, Forge can then build you like 2 other days to do on your own, right? So in terms of affordability, there's a lot of ways that it could be like, hey, I might not be able to see a trainer 3 times a week, but I do want some face-to-face I can afford once, and then Forge can help me on the back end at a much more affordable rate. But I think, that for me is the answer to the first question, right? Like it's not meant to replace, it's meant to adjunct for certain people. And for people that totally can't afford it, like it's a great option. And I think in terms of the trust, like John said, this isn't AI just pulling from tons and tons of generic data, right? This was built around principles of strength and conditioning, principles of tendon rehab, right? All the frameworks and principles that we've used over the last 15 to 20 years as clinicians and trainers is built into this, right? So it's not pulling from unlimited opinions and unlimited resources to give you very general answers. It's pulling from our frameworks, right? And it has access to those frameworks. So it's really just using our information, our knowledge to give you more tailored answers. So I think, in terms of trust, I can see why, like, if you go on ChatGPT, like John said, it's so general and you don't really know where it's coming from, and is that the frameworks and guidance you want to work with. But with us, it's really just almost like working with us, right? We tried to make it as close as we could to being us that gives you the answers while keeping the cost low.
Yeah, it basically, like what Joe was saying too, it's like, I get it. Like there's a lot of garbage information out there. So especially now when there's information overload, like I'm totally sympathetic to the fact that like people don't always trust some of these things. And especially even anything with the word AI in it. I get it. There's sometimes a negative stigma about it. So it's almost better to think of it as like, it's basically Joe and I's brain, and the AI is just retrieving the information that we've given it. So it's almost more of like a powered by AI, sort of like a retrieval network versus, hey, this thing is just pulling God knows what off of the internet and just giving you some sort of generic instruction. But like Joe was saying too, it's like, it's never going to replace that in-person sort of care, but it's another option that gives people information on where to best place their effort. So it's like, hey, if they even just do 1 session with their trainer, great, they don't need to stop. But that was a feature that we purposely added, was adding in the ability to upload PDFs, Excel files, even just taking a picture of something. So like if your trainer has a program, upload that to Forge to make sure that, number one, you get basically another set of eyes on it via the actual coach. But then also, hey, I noticed on Mondays you have a heavy squat day with your trainer. Let's not do that on Tuesday. Let's sort of space out your workload based on your goals so it can be a nice adjunct and a supplement. Of course, it can be entirely standalone, but it's also sort of wearing multiple hats so we can get the ability to help people who, they still like to go with their trainer. They might have a great relationship with them, and that's perfect. And I would never want to stand in between that. Keep seeing your trainer. But this is a way that we can sort of help them bridge that gap and see what they're doing, the other hundreds of hours, during the week, so they can still be productive and continue to work towards their goals, and they're not just in limbo.
And John, I think in terms of the trust factor too, something that me and John have committed to is like, ideally as the app grows, as we're helping more people, there's going to be more and more users on it, right? So me and John this is not like a hands-off app. Me and John are behind the scenes, right? We can see any conversation that anyone has had with the AI, and we are making sure that it is sticking to the principles, right? That it's pulling the things that we said, right? That it's refining itself as it goes. So it's never really like it's off on its own. I mean, certainly if at some point we had thousands of users on it, we wouldn't be able to see every single conversation, but we're planning on pulling a certain amount of conversations every month, just as an audit on the network to make sure that it's always refining and always getting better.
Yeah, and there are options too for all the users. Every conversation that you have with this coach, there's always an option to either message Joe and I directly in the top right corner of the app, or you can just flag it and be like, hey, is this correct? Is this something that should be going on? Is the coach giving me correct information? Because that's the benefit of Joe and I just basically creating this ourselves. Like, the only people who have worked on this app are in this room right now, and that's it. So it's like every piece of feedback, every piece of criticism, we welcome it, and it's like we can directly change it and be lean and mean and make those modifications right away. Plus, I was saying, we want people to kind of start using this app, and if there's any questions, they can always just flag it. They can talk to us directly, and that's what's so nice about just this truly being sort of a labor of love. It's like you can talk to the people who made it right away, and we'll change it as quickly as possible. And we still want it to be, there's people behind this. This isn't just some dark corner of the internet where this model is spinning up random advice. It's just like Joe and I are the only ones behind this, and we've really put a ton of effort in to make sure that this is the highest quality coach possible. But as I always do, people can always hit us up and give us recommendations or fact check things with us. That's always okay.
Yeah. Well, listen, I love what you guys are doing. I think it's creative. It's innovative. As PTs, again, I think some people just get into this career to do 9 to 5 and go home, right? I think some people get in this career to really help people. And I think some people get in this career to help people and change the game. And changing the game looks very different in various ways. But you guys have created a platform that has definitely changed the game, not just in terms of PT, but in terms of fitness. You're talking about 2 DPTs who you have access to, for a small fee, but have access to for a number of things that people are trying to do once they get past therapy, right? Because therapy is one thing to get you back to whatever you want to do. But after that, people usually fall off, right? They fall off, they get lazy. And as a result, they come back to PT again because they weren't doing what they were supposed to do in the first place. So you guys have now created this platform of longevity. That's how I see it. A platform of longevity where people really come to you guys and say, look, I'm better now. What can I do to make sure I can continue my fitness goals? Or I'm great. I want to get better at, like you said, I put on them pull-ups, right? I've struggled with pull-ups my entire life. And I've gotten better at them a little bit, not as good as Joe, right? But I've gotten better at those a little bit. But just I typed that in because I want to see what you guys are going to say in the app. And I know what to do for it, but what the app said is exactly what I would have said as a therapist, all right, or as a trainer. So I trust the app myself, and I hope others will too as well. But I just wanted to salute you guys. It's really a great way to get in front of people, to inspire them to be more in terms of fitness. And the fact that you guys created this on your own with similar mindsets, but coming together collectively as a team, I'm really impressed. So I salute you both for that. Well done. Well done.
Thank you, man.
What's next for the Pours now? What are the plans moving forward? What's the plan for the rollout? What's next on the docket for you guys?
I think it's really just, number one, getting more users, obviously. And two, I mean, every single day, I'm just like going through this and going through the code and trying to sharpen it, harden it, and add more features. So a recent feature that I just added from a user who was requesting it, she uses it as a supplement to her CrossFit programming. Or it's just a nice way to be able to log just the training that you're doing. You can still just use it almost like a Train Heroic or a True Coach, but there's no separate requirement of a coach feeding you a program. You can just log your own stuff. So a feature that we just added, you basically just take a picture of the CrossFit whiteboard that's at the front of the gym, and it's an EMOM or an ANRAP. Instead of going through and having to manually enter everything, and it's kind of a chore and there's a lot of friction, you just boom, snap a pic. It'll essentially auto-populate that log for you, and then you can go. So basically, it's like Joe and I just wanted to make the process as easy and as frictionless as possible. Like I've used True Coach for a long time, and it bugs me when it's just like it takes forever to sometimes upload things. And it doesn't mean it's not a good platform, but it's just like I was trying to address some of the pain points that I find with other fitness apps, and just squash that. So it's like I want it to be super easy to log, super easy to enter data. And For those who want features, they can kind of dig deeper. Like something that's in there too is, you can put notes, of course, on any movement, but the coach reads those notes. So if you're saying, 3 weeks in a row on your back squat, like my knee's been bothering me. It's been bothering me. It's been bothering me. It's like eventually, once off, the coach will notice it, but it's not going to necessarily say anything. But one of the new features is basically it will ping you and be like, hey, like I noticed that on these last 3 weeks, you've been logging that your knee has been a little bit achy after your squats. Like, you good? Do we need to change anything? Like, tell me a little bit about that. So the goal now is essentially every day, just continually sharpening it, making sure that the coach gets better, but also reducing friction for any users to ensure that it's basically as painless as possible to log things. So it doesn't take, 20 minutes to just like set up your whole workout. You can basically just actually do the thing that you need to do, which is train, and not worry about sort of the back end, administrative stuff. That's pretty much the thing. And like I said, every day, just trying to make it better.
Yeah, I think we also talked a little bit about at some point maybe adding something for coaches specifically. Might be a higher tier or a different tier, but something for either PTs or coaches where like, hey, if you're working with 15 clients, it's probably be like a different service entirely, but hey, you can get all your clients on Forge as like a value add for them, right? So now you're not just their trainer, but you also give them access to Forge, like it's free on their end. And then they can see everything that you're doing through Forge, right? So now if they do train with you in person, now they also have access to what you're logging on the days you're not with them. So it's even more cohesive for a trainer or a PT and a client to work together on Forge. And like you said, the rollout, we've been talking to all sorts of different people, run coaches, strength coaches, even PT places, right? Like, the discharge for a lot of PT places is often just, here's a sheet, right? Or here's HEP to go, right? And it's 5 exercises for your shoulder, but now your shoulder's kind of better, right? So either you fall off or you're like, I don't really see the point in this because I'm beyond these 5 exercises, right? So, pairing it with the right PT clinics as hey, maybe this is a discharge offer for your clients where now they want to get back into fitness. Forge could be mindful of the previous injury they had and also actually evolve with them and help them build them towards their goals versus just handing out a static sheet, right? So I mean, I think those are the big pushes forward for us for now.
Yeah, those are the biggest ones. One that we kind of recently did was more of the form analysis and motion capture. Still perfecting it a little bit. The biggest thing is that you can still upload your own videos and the coach will focus more on qualitative analysis of what your form looks like. Now, to be very clear, it's not saying, this is good form and this is bad form, because that's a little bit more subjective and it really just depends on the goal. So it's less like this is wrong and this is right, and more of like, is what you're doing conducive to the goal that you told me that you had? So if someone, when they're squatting, their goal is to be more upright. Maybe they need a little bit more quad drive out of the bottom. Maybe they're trying to shift from a low bar back squat to more of a high bar back squat. The coach will notice if you were to upload a video that, hey, like it's a good squat, but it's not necessarily exactly what we're talking about. Let's try and drive those knees forward a little bit more. So basically just kind of continually polishing that as well.
Wow. Very, very exciting. Listen, where can people find the app?
So right now it's on the Google Play Store. We're working on getting it on the App Store, just kind of working through approval. But then also you can basically just go on the website, on the Forge Movement site, and then you can find the link to basically access the web app. And then you can simply just download it to your phone, to your desktop. The web app is going to be the exact same as anything that's in the actual App Store. This is just a nice way that we can make sure that, it's essentially easy to download for everyone and doesn't have to worry about, Apple versus Android. But eventually it will be in the App Store as well, just to kind of make it a little bit more streamlined for people.
Yeah, and I think we have a link for you, Sean, and I think I gave it to you, but maybe not. If I didn't give it to you, we'll certainly give it to you now. And anyone that downloads it from the show will get a free month. So typically we do like a free week, but for all the users from the show, they'll get a free month. That way they can really, they can toy around with it, see how the logging works, see if there's any features they don't like, give us feedback. That way before they're even paying a dime, they've had a good amount of time with it and they can see like how great we think it is and no hard feelings if not, right?
Amazing. Be More Safe. You heard that. We get a free month just to log it on to that link. So I'll put that link in the show notes for sure. I appreciate you guys so much. Dr. Joe, Dr. John. I have one more question for you guys before I let you go, and it's somewhat entrepreneurial, but also just curious in terms of how you guys got here. Making an app is not easy, and you guys are PTs, right? So, I'm always curious to see when people do things like this and they go in line with what their call or their why is, but also kind of expanding beyond that. Who knows about app stuff? Who created the app? Who researched how to do this thing? It's not like, oh yeah, you go to PT school, now you're going to be an app maker. That's not like the direct path. So, how did that kind of train of thought or that training come into existence for us to even get here for two DPTs to make their own app?
Well, John's gonna have more to say about this, so I'm gonna say it first because John's really the brains behind this operation. For me, I always feel like we should be on the forefront of technology. I think people freaked out about computers, people freaked out about cell phones. When something big enough and impactful enough is here, it stays. And I always felt like for my own company and for myself, I want to learn all about it and be on the forefront of it. And how can I use that technology to either expand my reach and help as many people as possible, or just, in my local small clinic, right? Like keep our care as high as possible and use that to streamline processes. So I started just diving into the AI and prompting it and, talking to clients who have experience with it. And they were kind of giving me pointers, and I just kept toying with it to come to that original version of Forge, which I was working on when I met John. And I was amazed at how much I could even do just on my own with AI and asking it questions and having it teach me different things. So I really thought it was like a pipe dream at first. It looks pretty on the computer, but like, was there a point where we could ever get this to code, get this to a real thing? And then I met John, and he's way smarter than me, and he was able to take the AI and take it to a level that even I really probably couldn't have taken it on my own. And I'll let him talk about that, but he's really the one that's pushed this forward from pipe dream to real.
I think it's like, the reality is like, you have to understand that if you're not really enjoying the process, this is not going to work. And kind of like Joe was saying too, it's like, this is a new avenue to translate something that we absolutely love, which is fitness and health, and making sure people get access to this thing that literally changes their life. Like, this is the stuff that allows you to live the life that you want. Like, if you're physically capable, like, of course we have mental health, we have financial health, we have relationships, but like, physical health is a huge pillar of this. So it's like, you have to really love that process, because if you don't, like, you're never going to, number one, just devote enough time and make enough mistakes without quitting to continue to just iterate on this. So like, I think the whole process is like, there's really, like, the secret is that there's no secret. This is just something that's a huge part of Joe and I's life. And we, maybe we were stupid enough to not like take no for an answer and just be like, no, like, I believe in this. Like, this is something that you need to just have like a level of conviction that, like, people might think it's stupid. People might talk bad about it, and that's okay. Like, everyone's entitled to their opinion. That's fine. But like, Joe and I really believe in this stuff, and we believe in making sure that people get access to this. And this was the avenue and the way that we could deliver that. So it's like, this technology and leveraging it was the delivery method of something that is already so important and something that has changed both of our lives. So it's like, with that, it's not that it's easy. It's more of just like, well, like, failure is not an option. Like, even any day that we keep making mistakes, it's still fun and it's still a good day. So I think the biggest thing for people looking to be creative and make something like that, I said, I have no coding experience at all, and was able with Joe to basically spin up an app that we are pretty darn proud of. Like, we put our heart and soul in this thing, and like, it surprises even me today, where I'm like, holy cow, like, that was a pretty good answer. Like, that's really nice. Like, even like the app itself shocks us sometimes. So it's like, you just really have to be in love with it and continue to make a ton of mistakes and learn from all those mistakes. And just like, the biggest thing is just like being persistent, like not taking no for an option. And if you're truly convinced, like, listen, I know everyone thinks I'm crazy, but this is going to work. Like, you'll all see, eventually, like a Scooby-Doo villain kind of thing. Like, you guys will all see, it's going to be great. Like, I think that's what you just need to have. And then that's basically how this evolved. It's like, the first versions of this app did not look great. It looked, I remember showing this to people like, months back. It looked terrible. It was like some Windows 95 looking, like little paperclip in the corner sort of thing. Like, wasn't great. And then it's just like you continue to iterate and you continue to build and just keep learning as you go. And obviously with the technology now, it makes someone, like me or like Joe with no coding experience at all, we're healthcare providers, like don't take no for an answer, and you just got to love it. You really do.
Incredible. Well, listen, Dr. Joe, Dr. John, I want to give you guys an applause. You guys, you're incredible. Super inspired, both you guys. And John, just know I haven't heard Joe say many times that there was someone smarter than him. So that's a big deal. Just letting you know.
Significantly. I don't know if I've met anyone that could talk more PT than me, and John is one of those people.
Yeah, it's a big
I was an
deal.
only child, man, so I had a lot of time alone to just think about stuff.
Well, listen, folks, I appreciate you guys so much. I'm going to have the show notes. I'm going to have in the show notes the link that we can have our listeners sign up for free for a month. And we'll put the dates when that starts and ends in there. But thank you guys so much for making the time to be on the show. Really appreciate it. And congrats on your app. I'm signed up. I may sign up as a regular user once I get my house and my life together. But listen, I'm super excited for you guys. I just want to say congratulations again, and thank you for making the time today. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, thanks for having us on, Sean. Appreciate it as always, man.
Appreciate you, buddy.
No problem, guys. Listen, they were amazing, folks. I'm inspired. Not just creatively, creatively, just I'm inspired to go out there and get back into moving. I've been so busy with moving and transitioning from Brooklyn up here. I've kind of lost that sense of the joy that comes with fitness. And talking to these guys just now, Dr. Joe and Dr. John, about their app Forge has inspired me to make some real serious time to go on the app and just, take some minutes, half an hour, 45 minutes, an hour to go on there and be better for myself. So I salute them, and I salute you as well to go out there and to check out their app. As you heard, it's on Google. I'm going to have the app link in the show notes as well. So click on the link and sign up today. And for those of you who are listening to the show, you'll be able to go in the show links and click on the link again for a free month on your own. Check it out. These guys are respectable. They are very, very well versed in PT and very versed in fitness. So I'm sure you'll be able to benefit from all their knowledge right there in the palm of your hand. So folks, continue to go out there and be great. Don't forget the quote from today. You don't find a great physique, you forge it in the gym every single day. Let's forge together. Let's forge forward this year as we continue to nix and fix in 26. And I will see you next time on the Be More Today show. Thanks for being a part of the show, and we'll see you again soon. Peace.